Hello, as you know, we're trying to fund Dice and Slice, a show about gaming together with friends and eating with them as well. And we thought that it would be a good idea to actually show you what kind of production we have in mind. Obviously, this is not a full production. This is just a little bit of a pilot, a test, to give you a taste of what we want to achieve, what we want to do, and what kind of recipes we're going to bring you, because one of the things is that we don't believe that cooking should be that difficult to be efficient, to be effective, to be healthy, and to be impressive. So we thought, right, why don't we cook something very simple, extremely easy, with not very many ingredients that anyone can do with very, very little equipment. So I thought, right, chocolate muffins. Because everybody likes chocolate muffins, or at least I do, and you should like them too. So I'm going to dedicate this recipe, by the way, to my friend TR Knight, because he's brilliant. So just a handful of ingredients, which are 160 grams of self-raising flour, 200 grams of sugar, just in case you want to measure them, 200 grams of sunflower oil, which is about 1/4 of a liter, or just under half a pint, 4 eggs, 60 grams of pure chocolate powder, a pinch of salt, a little sachet of dried yeast, and lastly an orange, a juicy orange. Now this is the ingredient that could give you a little bit of problems. If you have a large juicy orange, use only half of it. Don't use the whole thing, because then the whole butter will go very too liquidy and it won't set properly. If you have a small orange like the one I have here, then use the whole thing. You don't need to peel it. We do need the peel for this because we want that pithy sort of flavor and taste to it. So how do we do this? Well, we're just going to blend the whole thing together, basically. So let's just get on with it. Well, the first thing, I need to let you know, I am using a food processor. This recipe doesn't really need it. The only thing you need the food processor for, really, is to blend the orange, because it does need to be very, very well blended. So you will need something to do that. If you're not going to use the orange, you should, because that's what the recipe says. Then you can do the whole thing by hand, which is fine, but you will need very strong arms, which I don't have. So this is a very fancy food processor. You can use any, really, it doesn't matter. First things first. We throw the orange inside, because that's the first thing we're going to do. We also put the sugar, and there's a reason to put the sugar in first, and it's that I can crack the eggs and put that there, so you're keeping things much tidier, which is exactly one thing that you should be doing. So some people think that cooking is messy, and it can be, don't get me wrong, it really can, but if you prepare things properly and are a little bit thoughtful and careful, it doesn't have to be that messy, so you don't have to be scared about it. Close the machine, and we are going to blend this thing. This machine allows me to have some timing and temperature. So we're going to put this for 3 minutes at a very quick speed. That's it. 6 minutes of blending it. And we should end up with this sort of consistency. It's still very liquid, it's still very, very runny, and that is fine. Because I'm picky, I like taking the spatula and getting as much out as you can, because that's going to have a little bit of the pith and a little bit of the orange, which is very nice indeed. I know it makes it a little bit messier, but that's fine. Just clean as you go along, and that's absolutely okay. Now, the next step, we add the oil, the whole shebang, and we are going to mix it, but only for just a few seconds. It doesn't, it's literally, we're just trying to bring it all together. It doesn't have to emulse or anything. So just that, fairly high speed. Done. Last but not least, we just add the rest of the ingredients. The flour, just like that. The cocoa powder, just like that. The yeast, which I am very, very carefully avoiding showing you the brand, because I don't want to influence anyone to using any brand or another. And the pinch of salt. And what we do with this, we are just going to blend it again for just a few seconds, 8-10 seconds, a fairly high speed. And that, friends, it is it. Let me show you the kind of consistency that you're going to end up with. You may want to use 2 spatulas because if you don't use 2 spatulas, this is the consistency. I hope the camera can pick it up properly. It is a bit grainy, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way it's meant to be. It doesn't have to be completely and utterly smooth. And the reason why I say that you should be using 2 spatulas is because one we're going to use to take this now, which I'm going to prepare the table, and put them into the molds, and the other one, you can lick it, because that tastes amazing. So there. Cut. As you can see, I'm literally just filling up some of these paper muffin cases. And the reason I'm doing that, you could put the batter directly in the mold if you wanted to, but if you do that, they are not as easy to transport. So I tend to put these little things. Also, that means that you don't have to be buttering the molds either. So it saves you that little bit of a bother. You don't have to be very precise, and you don't have to be all methodical about how much butter goes into these these little cases. If some of them need any, you take a small spoon and you just ease some more of this delicious, chocolatey, beautiful, yummy butter. Oh my god, I so can't wait to have this finished and show you, because they tend to look absolutely gorgeous. Now what we're gonna do is just going to put this in the fridge for about half an hour so they have a chance to rise, and then we're going to put them in the oven, and when they are ready we're going to show you how gorgeous they look. The oven, this is another little trick, it has to be heated to 220 degrees. That's how hot it needs to be. But when you put the muffins in, you lower that down to about 180. Thereabouts. It depends how strong your oven is. If your oven is not very strong, then put it up to 200. But make sure that they don't overcook. Otherwise, they will be very, very well cooked in the outside, but very squishy and gooey in the inside, which is not strictly what we want. So I'm going to get these sorted in the fridge, and I'll see you in about, well, thanks to the magic of television, in just a few seconds. These muffins have been in the oven now for about 20 minutes. Remember that the oven had to go up and then down a little bit. And I think they're probably ready to go now, hopefully, and they will look all right. Obviously, be careful, because this is going to be very hot. And that's the first batch of 6. And the second batch of 6. I was quite conservative in the amount of butter that I put in the mold, so they haven't risen a huge amount. You can make up to 24 of these, so you still should have a fair amount of butter to make more of these muffins. But I think, you know, my friends should be actually quite pleased and delighted to eat these, because I certainly will be. I can show you. Anyway, this is the sort of thing that we want to show you with Dyson Slice. We want to be able to give you just a few ingredients, a few recipes, and help make your gaming evenings and your gaming time much nicer. So we need your support, we need your help, we need your pledges in order to do that. And this is just a pilot. We will be able to do a great deal better when we have your help. So thank you very much.